Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I guess I will just confirm that this is actually working. Okay. Alhamdulillah. Thank you for confirming, Tariq. Okay. So, first I want to start by acknowledging the one who gives us life and gives us the opportunity to get together and remember him, remember the truth of this world. And by that I say Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, the source of infinite love and everlasting, eternal love that manifests itself through everything that we see here. Alhamdulillah, thank God for the opportunity given through Tariq to be able to talk together and sort of download and vibe together on how to become mindful and live in a way that we're actually conscious of the truth of what's going on. In a world where nothing is what it seems, I ask everyone to join me in the prayer that's, I'll say in Arabic and English. Allahumma arina al-haq haq warzuqna al-tibaa. Oh God, show us the truth as truth and give us the strength to follow it. Wa arina al-batil batil warzuqna ijtinaba. And show us the falsehood as falsehood and give us the strength to avoid it. With Ramadan being very close, an opportunity to renew our consciousness, and with all the chaos happening in the world today, I just want to take a moment to say, Allahumma ballighna Ramadan. Dear God, grant us the opportunity to reach Ramadan. And finally, most importantly, asking God for light. I ask God to bless all of those who are listening, all of those who are seeking guidance with light, light in our eyes, light in our vision, light in our hearing, the light of belief, the light of guidance, and may God help us live with that light. Ameen. So, I have another laptop here that I'm using. Alhamdulillah, my brother just said it's perfect. Okay. And I'm going to be just sharing a review, a little bit of what we did last week and the week before that, so that we can build, inshallah, build together and cultivate this deeper sense of consciousness. And a lot of people are using that word nowadays, so we just want to review what it means to me. And through the guidance of the Quran, consciousness, because consciousness is being used through a lot of people, a lot of different cultural practices and a lot of different ways of existing in the world today. But when the Quran speaks of consciousness, the word is taqwa. And it's consciousness of who we are. And if you know who you are, then you will find your sustainer and your Lord there. So consciousness is really being used here to be aware of who we are, what kind of world this is. And when we focus on that and we start to together see the signs, which is what we're training to do, ayat, as they're referred to in the Quran, then we can begin to live with a deep awareness of how we are constantly in the presence of the one taking care of the whole universe and us at the same time. So let's recap. All right. I just want this to be kind of like a session where everybody's just kind of, and I imagine like chilling in the living room, talking about God together. Usually this YouTube thing isn't my thing, but may Allah make it benefit. And I pray any benefit that comes through this is given to my brother Muhammad. May Allah rest his soul in peace and light, because I'm using his laptop right now in order to be able to read these notes. So last week and the week before that, we mentioned a quote that my Qur'anic teacher, my teacher that reminds us of the verses in the Quran, Sister Yamina, may Allah be pleased with her, shared. And it was extremely helpful for me to reflect on, and I wanted to share it again. It's when the forgetful man gets up in the morning. Remember, the forgetful man is all of us, right? We're constantly forgetting nonstop throughout the day. And mashallah, it reminds me, my brother actually sent me something to listen to from Brother Omar Suleiman, may Allah be pleased with him, about this whole coronavirus angst. And the dua that he mentioned was about the heart constantly changing. And it was the most common and frequent supplication or request of the Messenger of God, Muhammad, peace and blessings of God upon him, when he said, "Oh God, changer of hearts, Ya muqallib al-qulub, thabbit qalbi ala dinak." Make my heart firm on this lifestyle, on perceiving life in this way, also translated as religion. Which makes sense because we're constantly forgetting. Throughout the day, the heart is constantly changing. Look at the way the EKG is, right? So together, we want to meet and remember more often. And we should honestly be talking about this every opportunity we get, so that we can stay more in a state of remembrance and less in a state of ghafla or heedlessness. My Quran teacher actually, side note, uses a glass of water and, as an example. The more we fill a cup of water with water or remembrance, the less space there is for ghafla or heedlessness. So that's the intention. And the quote that she shared with us is, when the forgetful man gets up in the morning, he reflects on what he's going to do, whereas the intelligent man sees what God is doing with him. So last week, I used the analogy of like, as we're living and experiencing life, we experience hunger, thirst, feelings, thoughts, anger, upset, love, rushing. We just, relationships, we're constantly experiencing so many different things, right? A lot of people practice religion like it's a side thing. Like, all right, I'm gonna clock out from 1 to 1:15 so I can pray. And then as soon as that prayer is done, they just go back to doing exactly what they were doing, perceiving the way they were perceiving. And that's how you compartmentalize religion, as something on the side. Whereas my teachers have been teaching me that that's not actually the way to practice the Quranic guidance. The way to live with awareness of God is in every single thing. So starting with your breath, which is the need that the human is created to need the most, oxygen. Anything that's repeated a lot, like in the Quran, there's my teacher would say there's two Qurans. There's the speech of the Quran, that's the speech we get to read in the text, in the Mus'haf. And there's the universe, that's the pen in manifest form. So when anything is repeated in the Quran often, then it's kind of like an alarm, like, I really need to pay attention to this. And breathing is the most repetitive need. Wa alaikum salam rahmatullah, Sarah. Happy to see you in the chat. I hope you guys continue to write in the chat so I don't feel alone here. So breathing is the most repetitive need that the human being is created with. We literally can't live 4 minutes without it. 4 minutes without breathing, and that's it. Life is finished. So it's the greatest thing that we take for granted, and it's what we've been focusing on the past two lectures, or the past two discussions that we've had together. And we discussed that only by slowing down through breathing meditations can we actually start to cultivate a life where we live with new glasses on, where you slow down and you start to see things more as signs, also known as ayat, also known as the way God is speaking to me. So say, for example, like somebody says something that you're about to trip about or you're about to get upset about. If we cultivate this taqwa, this Qur'anic word that we're going to be focusing on, this consciousness, then you can pause, and before reacting, you notice your feelings. You're like, okay, I see you starting to get upset about something. Like I see this creation happening, this feeling being sent down. Let me remember. And then you're gonna find like remembering is coming to you because you're filling your glass throughout the day with more and more remembrance. And the best way that I've struggled with this for a very long time, and I'm still struggling with it, but the best thing that's been benefiting me so far has been this breathing meditation. I told you guys last week that literally last Wednesday was when my Quran teacher, and she like it's a class that's anyone can ask me about. It's open to everybody. Last Wednesday she discussed setting an alarm 2 times a day, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever you can do. Lay down somewhere quiet and just listen to your breathing. And it's such an important practice. It's an anchor, and we use this word, it's a special word, anchor, because it's like that thabat. It's like it weighs you down in a position and sets you up for success. Because if you can just learn to slow down, then you'll find that everything is kind of happening in slow motion, which is the beauty of Ramadan, right? Tara and I were discussing last week in the discussion that you don't really wow on people in Ramadan the way you would when it's not Ramadan, because you're fasting. And when you're fasting, you kind of, everything is slow motion. You're like, all right, I don't even got energy for this. Stabilizes you. Alhamdulillah. So good to see you, whoever that is too. All right, so I highly, highly recommend everyone to put an alarm. I put alarms in my phone for like months, and I never actually did the meditation until last week. And it was probably, I don't know, maybe like the 100th time I've been told to do it. And honestly, it's been extremely life-changing for me. So, oh, minna mashallah. I highly recommend, if you guys haven't already practiced it, to practice it 5 minutes, 2 times a day. Or 10 or 15 or 20, whatever you feel up for. 20 minutes has been successful for me. I know my homegirl actually told me that she also started doing the 20-minute meditation during this Corona thing. That's being super helpful for her as well. And the other homework that we discussed, which has also been extremely helpful for me, so I'm going to share it with y'all again, is that every hour, set an alarm. Again, without even setting the alarm now, because I've been practicing doing it for a little bit less than a week, every hour I'm kind of looking at the clock and I am reminded, take a deep breath and see where you're at. Like, are you in alignment with what your intention was, that you want to be aware of your sustainer, or are you completely far away from that? So remember, the quote says, when the forgetful man gets up in the morning, he reflects on what he's going to do, whereas the intelligent man sees what God is doing with him. That's where we want to reach, right? We want to reach this place where we are in a state of connection with our sustainer through our feelings, through our senses, hunger, thirst, breathing, and it's going to slip constantly. Guaranteed, it's going to slip constantly. So we need to set ourselves up for success by putting reminders for us to just take a deep breath. I will never get tired of using this reminder of the breath. It's such a gift. It's such a gift. And we should be remembering death often. The Prophet, peace and blessings of God upon him, peace and blessings of God upon him. Really, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for prophets and messengers, because without the messenger of God, we wouldn't know how to practically live with the message. So he said, remember death often, the killer of pleasures. They used to remember it nonstop. And now I finally understand why, after witnessing the death of my beloved older brother, Allah yarhamu. It just becomes so clear that we are really nothing more but breath breathed into us, and feelings sent down to us, and thoughts being given to us. Because when breath leaves, this whole this whole shell, this whole body is just done. Like, it's just, there's nothing left to it. All right, so I could talk about death all day, but remember, when you set your hourly alarm, last week we said that it's like riding shadi. Consciousness is like riding shadi. You're kind of like in the passenger side, seeing what's happening to you, seeing what's happening to your body. Look at, she's getting angry. Look, the feeling anger has come. Hunger has come. Okay, so who sent? Do you create the hunger? No. Do you create the thirst? No, you find it. You find yourself in a state of awareness. You find yourself in a state of awareness. So if we're being conscious, then we're seeing ourselves from the observer perspective. And then it came to my mind that I wanted to just add in from last week that we also have free will, right? And a lot of people remind us that free will is like being the driver, which is true to an extent, because when you have free will, you get to choose whether you want to accept what's happening and make peace with it, or resist. So you have the freedom to choose. But if we're super aware of what's happening, you will find that a good feeling is sent to you when something is good, and a bad feeling is sent to you when something is bad. So it's best to be, from my experience, in the state of observing yourself as the observer, like you're seeing the feelings. We'll get into it more. I know this is kind of it's not that easy to get into, but all right. So with Ramadan coming up around the corner, it's a good time for us to rekindle our relationship with the Quran. So here's the ayah that we talked about last week. And then remember, our intention is to build together, to cultivate this deeper sense of awe, or like wow, of our sustainer, the one who's giving us breath and taking care of us, which is also called ibadah, right? This is called worship. It's the sense of admiration or awe, and we can only cultivate that through becoming more and more conscious of the signs. Everything in the Quran, everything is a sign. With that being said, let's jump right into these verses. So the first ayah that we talked about last week was in Surah Yunus 10, and it's ayah 92. Highly recommend y'all to grab a Quran, or just get on your phone or online, Google it or whatever. So ayah 1092 is the second part of the ayah, is what our focus was last week. وَإِنَّ كَثِيرًا مِنَ النَّاسِ عَنْ آيَاتِنَا لَغَافِلُونَ. The greater, indeed, indeed, كَثِيرًا مِنَ النَّاسِ, the greater amount of the people, so most of, and nas, all humankind. Nas also means humans that are created forgetful. An ayatina, of our signs, laghafilun, are heedless. Next ayah, 12:105, Surah Yusuf, ayah 105. وَكَأَيٍّ مِّنْ آيَةٍ فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ يَمُرُّونَ عَلَيْهَا وَهُمْ عَنْهَا مُعْرِضُونَ. But then, how many a sign is there in the heaven? Okay, before we even, what am I even doing? Before we even talk about verses, like we need to, and I love this reminder, we need to G-check ourselves and kind of like, what are we reading? What are we doing? This is not a book. We need to refresh ourselves and really approach this book with awareness, right? So alhamdulillah for the reminder. I told you guys, like, we always get super forgetful. Hi, Sister Pat. Salam. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We're constantly in a state of forgetfulness, but when you train yourself to start remembering, you will find reminders popping into your head like that. So alhamdulillah for that. So here we are as forgetful human beings put in this world, like we were dropped off in this island, dropped off in this body, and like all of a sudden we found food literally magically popping off of trees. We find our bodies like magically working, telling us when we're thirsty, telling us when we're hungry, somehow finding ways to find food. Baby just somehow already knows where to get it. So like we find ourselves in this weird place, in this weird body, but magically like everything we need is somehow popping out of trees and coming down from the sky. Really strange, really strange. And then we find this book, this speech. I don't want to say book, right? Because book is mushaf, but Quran is speech, and speech is different because speech is living. Book is like static. It happened a long time ago. It's like history. Whereas the Quran says this is a speech that's coming down. It's live, it's living. If we approach it that way. So then here's a speech saying, I'm the one that created you. I created the whole universe, and I'm talking to you to help you find out why you were made and how to live according to that purpose. I'm here to help you understand where you are, what you're doing, and how to see the truth of what's going on. So now here's a speaker saying, كثيرا من الناس عن آياتنا لغافلون. Most of the people of our signs are completely mindless. The first one. The second one. How many a sign is there in the heavens on the earth which they pass unthinkingly, on which they turn their backs? Now he's not talking to them, he's talking to you and me, right? We can't be like approaching this book like, oh yeah, he's talking about those people. No, if you think he's talking about those people, then the book is not speaking to you. The speech is not speaking to you. Your sustainer, the one who is trying to help you, isn't speaking to you, and you shouldn't really approach it with that attitude because you're cutting off your relationship. So always, every verse, whether it's talking about a character, and this is great. I learned this from my classes. All the verses are talking to you. If it's Yusuf, Yusuf is you. If it's, the disbelievers, that's you. In every aspect, in every character, there's an aspect that points to you. And the one who created you is speaking to you to try to, to offer you guidance to help you. Okay, next one is 10:7. Surah Yunus, chapter 10, ayah 7. These are going to be just like a bundle of ayat that are all hitting the same point, so we could just emphasize the point here. إِنَّ الَّذِينَ لَا يَرْجُونَ لِقَاءَنَا. Indeed, those who do not expect our meeting. Remember, this speech is talking to you here and now, right? It's not talking to you about the future, like when you die. That's another way that people interpret it. That didn't resonate with me personally. My teachers teach that the Quran is speaking to you here and now. إِنَّ الَّذِينَ لَا يَرْجُونَ لِقَاءَنَا. Those who are not, there's plenty of translation. Those who don't, I only have one in front of me, but it's so important to have like a comparative translation when you're reading. I like Islam Awakened. I'm actually going to put this in Islam Awakened because the translation is super important. As for those who This one says, do not believe that they are destined to meet us, who do not expect the meeting with us. This, I like with this one. Those who rest not their hope on their meeting with us. إِنَّ الَّذِينَ لَا يَرْجُونَ لِقَاءَنَا. Those who don't have this expectation or hope in this meeting with us. What meeting? Am I supposed to be meeting you right now? And I love this way of kind of speaking to the Quran. We do it in one of my halakas. And in this Receiving Nur and Islam from Within are kind of like the two sources that I get my Quran studies from, both on YouTube. And there's this concept of speaking to the verse so the verse could speak to you, right? If you want to, right, Ramadan is coming and we should be asking the Quran, like asking the speech, like, I didn't know I was supposed to be meeting with you. Like, what is this meeting with you? And pause. Instead of just reading it really quickly, let's talk to the verse and see what the verse, let's pause and listen to see what the verse has to say to me, right? إِنَّ الَّذِينَ لَا يَرْجُونَ لِقَاءَنَا. So there's no hope or expectation in this meeting with us. وَرَضُوا بِالْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا. And they're cool with this world, right? Like they're pleased, content with what's happening in this world right now. With this temporary life, they're chilling in it, basically. They're chilling in it and they're feeling satisfied. And remember, he's talking to all of us, right? So when you hear this, we're looking for the part that's talking to us. So find that little part in you that actually vibes with, yeah, I can see how I do that. وَتَمَأَنُّ بِهَا. And do not look beyond it or feel secure therein. And feel secure in the world. I like that translation. وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ عَنْ آيَاتِنَا غَافِلُونَ. And those who are of our signs, ghafil, heedless. So we've been talking about this being ghafla. Now this ayah is pretty cool. It caught my attention right away today because it kind of gives us a whole layout of what ghafla looks like. They don't have this meeting with us. So we're not, and imagine like this whole concept of consciousness is how to meet the names of God that are revealing themselves to us through the pen of creation, through everything, in yourself and in the whole universe of everything we experience. Last week we talked about the ayah that says, indeed, we will show you our signs in the heavens and in yourselves until it becomes clear to you that this is the truth. So there's this constant emphasis that I'm showing you my signs of me in the heavens and the earth and in yourselves. But most of you are turning your backs. Most of you are completely heedless. Most of you, all of us, are completely unaware of our ayat. And this is the truth. Like, astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah. This is how we live on a daily basis. And oftentimes, I like when people teach religion, they're like, make sure you pray, make sure you do repentance, make sure you actions, and no one's actually going into the heart, the core of the matter, which is like, how do you change your perspective and actually see life as revelation? How do you actually witness your, witness? How do you, we say ashhadu, right? Like one of the pillars, the fundamental pillars of Islam, of being aware of the fact that you're created and you have a creator, and that you are mindful of that. So you surrender that you have an owner. Islam, right? This concept of submitting to the truth that you're made and you have an owner. The first pillar is shahada, witnessing. So, I mean, I can't help but speak like this, but I mean, I live in Brooklyn, right? So if a cop stops you and be like, did you just see what happened? Can you witness, can you be an eyewitness that this person just robbed this person? And if you didn't see it, you can be like, no, I can't witness that. I didn't see it. I wasn't there. But if you've seen it, like, yeah, I can bear witness to that. I can testify. So this this way of life that the Quran is offering, this worldview is the word that my Quran teacher uses for religion, deen, worldview. This way of seeing the world is fundamentally based on shahada, witnessing with your eyes the truth that everything is made, and everything is made by a sustainer that's taking care of you right now, that's speaking to you right now. And then if we saw that, then when you pray, right, and we're in this humble state, you're like, ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. I saw that there's nothing that could be the source creating anything except someone that's completely beyond, except some being that's completely beyond the nature of this world. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. If you didn't see the signs, like we were saying last week, in between prayers, we should be looking for clues. Like we use Blue's Clues, like, and this is what they've discussed in my classes before. But we should be looking for clues, and then when you reflect, when you slow down, and you can actually start looking deeply into things, whether it's your breathing or thirst or water or food, which is breathing and water is mentioned a lot in the Quran. Water is mentioned a lot in the Quran. My last class yesterday was focusing on water. And I told you guys, like, next week, inshallah, I want to focus on water. And this week I want to focus on breath, because it's something we interact with so much. So this is a clear ayah that's giving us an opportunity to constantly remember the source in a deep way. So those who aren't hoping for this meeting meaning as meeting with the divine names, the names of God. So when I'm drinking water, right, if I see this glass of water and there's this, people can say, oh, and this is what we were talking about yesterday, like, oh, water quenches my thirst. It's great. I'm so thankful. Like, thank God for water because the water quenches my thirst. So then the belief there, and this is something we say all the time, right? Like, we're not even mindful of what of course, water quenches our thirst, right? But does water actually know does water have knowledge of your need and then actually enter your body and say, okay, where is that thirst at? So I can just completely take care of it. Okay, it's at the brain. All right, let me just take care of this whole system so that Sarah is no longer thirsty. Water has no idea, right? Water has no idea how to quench my thirst. Water has no life. It cannot give me life. But the Quran offers water as an ayah, something that's just being used as a sign to demonstrate the one who is taking care of you, the one who is sustaining you, and the one that created your whole system, your brain, your tongue, your throat, the way it goes down, the sensors in your stomach, then the connection to your brain, and then actually sends the water down from ordering the whole clouds and the wind and the evaporation, and whoever orders this whole thing then sends us water and creates this whole system inside of our body and this whole system outside of our body just to sustain us, just to take care of our thirst so that we don't feel that thirst anymore. So did I meet the name of my sustainer when I took a sip? Probably not. I was like, oh, I'm so thirsty. Okay, I'm not thirsty anymore, alhamdulillah. And we might say Bismillah, alhamdulillah, right? These religious terminology that we learned. But are we actually meeting? Is there a meeting happening here? Probably not, for me. Most of the time it's not. Water is on my list of things to do second to breath. My first area of focus is breath, because without it for 4 minutes we would die. So it's the most repetitive need. Water is the second thing, our second most important need. So remember, whatever is ordered, whatever is the need that's repeated the most in order is like our highest priorities of need, and that's where the biggest lessons are. So whoever is not hoping for this meeting and is content with the way the world is and have some security, they feel secure in it, and وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ عَنْ آيَاتِنَا غَافِلُونَ, and the ones that are of our signs, heedless. أولئك مأواهم النار بما كانوا يكسبون. Their abode is the fire for what they earned. Now, we're going to pause there. Whenever we're not in a state of meeting our Lord, our sustainer, and whenever we feel content with everything temporary, like we're not even, you're just kind of happy with how things are going, or you're just cool with it, eventually you will find the truth of this ayah, that you will find something burning inside of you. It's not going to satisfy you. That's what the speaker is saying right now. You're going to find that you will find an abode of fire inside of you. Remember, the Quran, from our perspective, from the way that we're learning in this, the perspective that I'm offering through my classes, is that it's not the hellfire in the future. It's actually, you can confirm this fire within you here and now whenever you're disconnected. And it's true. I don't know who of you can testify, but whenever we are kind of like putting our hopes in the temporary, you will necessarily be disappointed, and it's going to burn you inside. It's not going to feel good. So the ayah continues. Remember, when the forgetful man gets up in the morning, he reflects on what he's going to do, whereas the intelligent man sees what God is doing with him. The first one is the person in state of ghafla. That's the attitude of ghafla, heedlessness. And the second one is consciousness. That's the one who's connected. The ayah continues. This is ayah 9, Surah Yunus, chapter 10. إِنَّ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ. Those who have belief. وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ. The way that my teachers have discussed this verse is whenever you have iman, whenever your heart is connected to your maker in anything, then anything that you're doing becomes amal salih. Think about it. Everyone translate this in a compartmentalized way. Like when they break it down, they'll say, oh, whenever you have belief, yeah, we're all believers, right? Nobody's like a disbeliever. Everyone believes in God. And we all do good deeds. And it's kind of separate. Whereas this is saying, when you're in the state of belief, the way that my teachers have broke it down in the way that makes more sense to me is, when you're in a state of belief, then the actions that you're doing are reflecting the names of God. You're seeing what God is doing with you. Like if you're giving money, you're like, oh yeah, I believe in God. Here's the money that I'm giving you. So you think that I'm giving money. Or you're like, okay, let me drink some water. I'm a believer, but I'm gonna drink some water right now, and water is quenching me. Neither of those is amal salih, and I don't know, I can't judge what is belief and what's not belief, but when we're in a state of belief, it's believing in what? It's believing that we're abd, we're the ones who are completely needy, and there's someone, a being, that is constantly taking care of us and inspiring us as long as we seek that inspiration. And then anything that we do is reflecting his qualities or its qualities. Like if I get this feeling like giving is a good thing, then I should stop and reflect. That's the whole thing about pausing, slowing down. This feeling of giving, did I create it or did I find it inside of me? Every human finds it inside of them. Then this is an opportunity to have a meeting with the one who created that quality, and he calls himself the giver. He calls himself the generous. Then when I give Bismillah. I give in the name of the one who actually gives. I'm just manifesting or displaying like a mirror, right? Like if the sun is shining on a mirror and the mirror reflects light, is the mirror itself the sun? No, the mirror is not doing anything. It's just reflecting. So to me, Iman means that Iman and Amal Salih to me means we are aware that we are not the doers, but we're constantly, if we're conscious, reflecting the one who gives us life and inspires us with all of the names, right? Because the ayah is وَعَلَّمَ آدَمَ الْأَسْمَاءَ كُلَّهَا. We taught Adam all of the divine names, all of the names, actually. وَعَلَّمَ آدَمَ الْأَسْمَاءَ كُلَّهَا. We taught Adam all the names. And the way that my teachers have broke this down to me in a way that makes sense is that Adam is Bani Adam. That's all of us, right? Human beings. We've taught human beings all of the names. What names would the speaker be telling me about? The names of, I don't know. I can't imagine people actually saying, oh, it's the names of like science and chemistry and blah, blah, blah. Like that has nothing to do with the purpose of existence. The purpose of existence is get to know the source. So the one that made us taught us all the names or equipped them inside of us already. And we have an opportunity now in this limited time on earth. It's like we're seeds and we have an opportunity to get to know all of these names. Who is this being? Who sent me here? Who's taking care of me? Who's giving me? Who's so kind that makes me want to be kind? We have this opportunity to get to know, get acquainted with this maker before we actually meet this maker. So, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ يَهْدِيهِمْ رَبُّهُمْ بِإِيمَانِهِمْ. It's just, I can't even come close to tafsir or like breaking this down in a way that actually gives it any level of what it's due at all. But what I can do is just share the Iman training that I've received for quite a number of years now, and then talk about how this speaks to me, and just offer you kind of a new way to approach the Quran, hopefully within these next 2 weeks before Ramadan comes, in a way where you're interacting with it and you're speaking with it and you feel like it's a friend, like you feel like it's really speaking to you. So the Arabic is just beautiful, but it says يَهْدِيهِمْ رَبُّهُمْ بِإِيمَانِهِمْ. God is guiding them, their Lord. So their Rabb is guiding them through that level of Iman. The translation says, those who believe and do righteous deeds, their Lord will guide them aright because of their faith. في جنات النعيم تجري من تحتهم الأنهار. They will find themselves in paradise, under which rivers flow. I know I hear. 10:10, ayah 10:10. دعواهم فيها سبحانك. Their supplication, or what the description of these people, دعواهم فيها سبحانك اللهم. So all these people have to say, and this is so beautiful because it goes right with what we're saying, right? Sorry guys, I have a small human being that just woke up that's going to leave me very soon, so I'm going to have to shorten this shortly. And it's a beautiful place to conclude anyway, but دعواهم فيها سبحانك اللهم. So those who are actually connected to their sustainer, and they're living by this belief of their Lord's names. يَهْدِيهُمْ رَبُّهُمْ بِإِيمَانِهِمْ. With that Iman, so the prerequisite is you have to cultivate this Iman first. This consciousness of God develops this belief in you. In the more you become conscious of our Lord. Sorry, y'all. The more we have this belief of our Lord, the more He will guide us to His names. دعواهم فيها سبحانك Allahumma. Like there's nothing for this one that when you're in that state, there's nothing to say but Subhanak Allah. Like you're so beyond. Glory be to you. You're so beyond. وَتَحِيَّتُهُمْ فِيهَا salam. And their greeting in that state is peace. We talked about how the believer is in a state of Muslim is the one who feels in a state of salam, taslim. وآخر دعواهم أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. I'm going to ask you guys, I'm going to go tend to this baby, but I'm going to end at this ayah. Ask you guys to do some homework on breathing. I guess we'll pick up then since I have to go now. On breathing. I wanted to talk about breathing now, but I'm being called. And we'll pick up next time. I will end with this. Contemplation is a quality and an act of worship. The Prophet ﷺ had said, an hour of contemplation is superior to an entire year's worship. So really, guys, let's focus on breathing and do that homework. And if you do it, then hopefully you can text me about it or we can talk about it next time. We'll go into breathing. We'll start there next week. And inshallah, I'll see you guys then. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.